The Galaxy S25 Ultra is still way better than the Pixel 10 Pro XL. Here's why. Let's go. Google just announced their entire Pixel lineup for 2025 overnight in New York. They've got the Pixel 10, the Pixel 10 Pro, the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and the Pixel 10 Pro Fold. All of them very hard to say, especially when you try and do it quickly. All of these are going to be directly competing with Samsung's lineup for 2025, the S25 series and the Z Fold 7. Today I'm going to focus on the Pixel 10 Pro XL and the S25 Ultra, and every reason why this is better. First one is the display. It's not even a contest. As much as Google have got this super Actua display and the brightness is definitely higher with the peak levels of brightness and nits, sure, that's a great number on paper. But there's one aspect of the display on the S25 Ultra that just crushes the Pixel 10 Pro XL, and that is the anti-reflective coating. It just makes the difference. Using this phone as extensively as I have this year, that sort of, layer over the display, not only does it not impact the display quality in any way, it actually enhances it in every situation. Because you get the deep blacks from the fact there's no reflections being sort of thrown onto it. And when you're outdoors especially, you just get really crisp visibility. It's superb. And the fact that there's nothing like that on the Pixel just means that from a display point of view, not only do you get all of Samsung's display stuff, but you get this on top of it, and it just gives you that edge with that experience. The next one, and this is absolutely no surprise, is the performance. The Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy that's in here with the S25 Ultra is just going to perform levels faster than the Pixel 10 Pro's Tensor chip. The reason for that is the Snapdragon, the 8 Elite is better just as a stock chip, but the fact that Samsung have heavily customized it with Qualcomm's help and sort of partnered together means that the performance has been tuned to be better on here. Not just for Galaxy AI features, but more so just for everyday sort of stuff that you do on here. The thing I will say is that the Pixel experience with its software, you probably won't split the difference when it comes to fluidity, app animations, all that sort of stuff. It's going to be down to that heavier task load. Whether that be you're going to do things like exporting video, whether you want to do gaming on here, that's where the difference is going to be. It's that performance ceiling. And the S25 Ultra with the Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy leaps and bounds ahead of the Tensor G5. The Tensor G5, at least in benchmarks, which aren't necessarily the best way to measure a phone, don't even come close to the 8 Gen 2 in the S23 Ultra from 2 years ago. And by don't come close, I mean it's pretty much the same. And that's a 2-year-old phone. You can see in these benchmark numbers here, thanks to my friend Workaholic David Amir on X, Twitter, showed them side by side, and you can see that difference, or the fact that there is no difference. And that's a concern for a phone that's launching now in 2025 with the price point of an S25 Ultra. The next one, even though it's been severely hampered in the S25 Ultra, it's the S Pen. The S Pen being integrated here into the S25 Ultra to go along with the other stuff that I've spoken about already so far gives the Ultra another edge, because not only do you get that display that's incredible, that performance with the chip, but you also get the versatility of being able to use this like a notebook, being able to write in Samsung Notes, screen off memo. There's so many things that this S Pen can still do that people seem to forget about, and it's just included and integrated right into the body of the phone. Pixel doesn't support the S Pen, doesn't have support for an S Pen in the display. Some people will say, just get a stylus. It's not even close to the same situation. A stylus is just basically an extension of a finger. This works with a digitizer layer built into the screen that detects when it's close. It's not even in the same field. And to call it that, let's just move on. S Pen, next one. Number 4 is to do with the design. Not necessarily with how it looks, because I actually really like the Pixel 10 Pro XL's horizontal camera bar, and the aesthetic that it's got is really clean. They've got some nice colors. The actual aesthetic of the design, I really like the Pixel. It's probably just personal preference which one you like better. I, of course, like the aesthetic on this too, but I think the Pixel one has a nice one. What I mean by design is the materials and the build and the in-hand feel. The S25 Ultra and what Samsung pretty much have done universally across the board this year is they've worked really hard to bring the weight of their products down. The S25 Ultra coming in at 218 grams with a phone that's 8.2 millimeters thick is quite incredible for a phone with a 6.9 inch screen. You've got other phones like the S25 Edge, which beggars belief at how thin and light that thing is, and the Z Fold 7, which also feels quite incredibly light for what you're holding. But I've got to say, props to Samsung. The S25 Ultra with a phone of the screen size this big feels incredibly light to hold. The Pixel, I think it's about 233 grams. Standard weight, same as what the S24 Ultra was last year, so you can't really blame Google for that. But I think what you've got here is integrated S Pen, still a 5,000 mAh battery, quad camera setup, plus this amazing display with that chip. And the fact you're holding something that's that light, yeah, it's pretty good. Part of that too is the titanium frame, which adds to that lightweight feel, but also adds to that superior strength that this phone has got. Now, the next one I've got down here is cameras. Here's where I think I'm going to get a little pushback. And I don't mind that I'm going to get pushback here because I kind of agree with output. I reckon Google's probably going to shade it. Maybe even camera modes to some extent. Though I'm going to push myself back on that one because the camera modes on here is quite extensive. I'm talking more about the versatility of the camera because you've got the 50 megapixel ultra wide, you've got the 200 megapixel main camera, you've got a 10 megapixel, terrible 3x telephoto, but it's still there. And you've got a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto, which is just amazing at capturing really good sort of portraits and just excellent for that punch in that you want to get to. And because it's 50 megapixel, can go to 10. Now, Pixel obviously has a very similar setup minus the 3x. It's got an ultra wide, it's got a main camera at 1x, and then it's got a 5x telephoto, which now can go up to 100. But I think where the flexibility and the versatility of Samsung's camera hardware goes is it has that extra 3x. It gives you that little gap between 1 and 5 to go between. The 1x camera at 200 megapixel could probably handle that gap up to maybe around 4, but I think giving you a dedicated 3x camera in the end is a better solution. Having that 4 camera setup just adds that versatility than what the Pixel with its 3 setup has. And then the extra point on top of that is the modes. But I would say video modes. Samsung in recent times have really stepped up their video capability on their smartphone. It's been incredible to use this as a video camera, especially with some of the features that got added this year. The main one being log video, something that iPhone users spoke about for a very long time, but it was really good to see it come across here on the S25 Ultra. The ability to capture things in that log profile and then go in later, either editing on the phone or editing on your computer, is such a great sort of touch to have. But then alongside that, the extra sort of standard camera modes that Samsung have got, things like dual recording, where you can do 4K 30 dual recording from 2 different cameras on the back here, and things like single take, where it can capture a whole bunch of stuff and then convert it into an album of photos and videos. All of it is just an extra touch, an extra feature set that you get on here. Not to even mention Pro Video mode that you get on here as well. And then the last one that I'm really going to push and highlight here is Samsung DeX. Now, hear me out here, because Google is obviously working on a desktop mode, and I know that a lot of people have showed it off through the developer options in Android 16 beta. But what we don't have yet is a proper native competition for DeX. Even if Google were to bring desktop mode out now, in whatever state it's in, I would still say DeX is the advantage over it because of the fact that it's had almost 8 or 9 years of iteration that Samsung have been working on it to get it to the point where it's at today. And they haven't stopped working on it. There was a period of time where they maybe neglected DeX for a couple of years, but with One UI 8 and Samsung DeX, they've brought DeX back to life and brought in a whole bunch of new features. A lot of that is probably in collaboration with what Google are going to bring out, but the fact that Samsung have still got their DeX flavor on it, still got the option for things like wireless DeX, means that it's just going to be a better, more fleshed out solution for desktop mode, and it's here on the S25 Ultra. Now, does the Pixel have an edge in some spaces? Yes, it does. I would say probably with the battery, although it's only 5,200 milliamp hours versus 5,000, they've got a slight edge. The Tensor chip is promising to be more efficient but that's something you'll just have to see in real world tests and usage. So that's something to look out for. And of course, with software, Google have got Gemini features first, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to see those features here eventually. Google, with their strong partnership with Samsung, will likely bring a lot of these Gemini features and Google apps here to the S25 Ultra and future versions of Samsung. If you're looking at a Pixel and you're seeing some of those new AI features, the Gemini ones in particular, and you're thinking, I'll get a Pixel to get it, well, I think you're better off getting it here because you still get it, plus you get all the other advantages that Samsung has over the top of the Pixel. I find it's a really strange launch, the Pixel 10 series, because with one of them, the Pixel 10, they pretty much downgraded the main camera heavily to fit in a periscope on a phone that probably didn't really need it, just to add that extra bit of value. Because I think Google had a good story. They had the Pixel 9 and then they had the 9 Pro to add that extra camera. Whereas now it's kind of blurred a little bit. Why would you get a Pixel 10 Pro over a Pixel 10? They're seemingly very similar in their output and what they're offering. But anyway, I just thought I'd put this out here. One, for a bit of fun, because it's always fun to compare, even though I don't have a Pixel or don't plan on getting a Pixel. You can comment me in the comments for that if you like. And two, because again, I genuinely believe people are forgetting how good this phone is. Definitely Samsung's best Ultra, even if it's missing that Bluetooth S Pen, this still has the benchmarks of everything that an Ultra should be. The Pixel 10 Pro XL, I just don't think it does. So hit subscribe to Tech with Benefits if you want to see more sort of stuff like this. Go back and see other sort of S25 content on the channel and make sure you're here for all the other content that's to come the rest of the year. And I'll see you guys in the next one. You!